Let's go over the basics of the screen and some of the functions on the front of the machine. First off, you have the stitch selection number with the ability to plus up the tens or the single digits. So if you want stitch number 33, go up to 3 and 3. So then your stitch is a buttonhole. It even tells you to put on foot A, which is your buttonhole foot, and then your stitch length and width are set up for you, which is nice. You can adjust those up or down depending on what settings you want them to be. And once you want to go back to your default setting of just a straight stitch, go back to 0, 0. That does have the needle in the left position, but that is the proper setting for getting your markings to match with your seam allowances on the pattern. We'll go into that with a little bit more detail. So first off, as you sew, we're back on J. That's your standard presser foot, J. And your stitch length is 2.5 millimeters. And that's a nice setting for stitches that are on medium weight fabrics. If you have thicker fabrics, increase your stitch length to 3 or 3.5. So you're not having to push the fabric through. If they're getting really, really tiny and you're having to help it, all you have to do is increase the stitch length to get the machine to pull it through for you. Now notice that your needle always stops in the down position. Just touching the needle up button will bring the needle to the highest position, complete your stitch, and allow you to easily take it out and cut your threads. Now, as you make a setting adjustment, you can also change the width for a straight stitch is not really the width, it is needle position. So right now the needle is in the 0 position, and as we plus it, that needle is slightly moving to the right side. It will go all the way over to 7.0, so your stitch width with all your stitches is up to 7 millimeters wide. That's a nice, pretty setting for this machine. And you can also increase the stitch length. So depending on what settings you're doing, it's super easy to change. Now when you're not on a straight stitch, let's say you're on a zigzag, stitch number 4, so 0, and then just plus this up to 4. It gives us a default setting of a stitch length of 1.4 and a stitch width of 3.5. So I can increase this while I go, and we can see that we can get a nice wide zigzag and even a longer zigzag, which is really nice. You can change things while you sew, and then you can see it increase as you go. So if you want to get back to the default setting, all you need to do is go up a number and then back to the stitch number you're on. So I'll just go up to 5, back to 4, and then I'm back to where we started. Same as turning your machine off and turning it back on. Now another thing you have is a speed control, which is great if you're working on something that you want to have a little bit more control over the speed, or if you're sewing with a youngster, you know that's not a bad idea. Watch, this is the full speed ahead at the lowest setting. I'm just going back to a straight stitch. So it's pretty slow, but you can kind of find what works for you. You can speed it up just a little bit and have a nice result. With the needle down, you can lift the foot and turn a corner. And then if we want to end a stitch, use the reverse button to lock a couple stitches in. By holding it in while you sew, it stitches it backwards. Bring the needle up, and then these stitches are nice and secure so they don't come apart when you take your fabric out of the machine. Now this last little button that's right here is not going to work. Going to give you an error message of E5, which means you need to unplug the foot control. So I'm reaching around the back of the machine and unplugging the foot control. This is a start-stop button. I'm going to make sure I'm on a medium speed so it doesn't just fly off on me. But I'm sewing right now without my foot control, and I'm stopping it with the same button. If you ever end up at a class or something without your foot control, no problem. Just slide your speed down a little bit and then sew away just like everybody else is doing. So it's really nice to work that way. Just have to remember to use it, you have to unplug the foot control. So simple, easy to get around the machine. We will get into tension, which is this knob right up here, in its own video, so we can talk about how to use different weights of thread if you have a thicker thread in your needle than you do in your bobbin. And then once again, we'll just take this right on out, cut our thread, and next let's get into learning how to change our needle and clean our machine.